Hi, and welcome to this week's 5-minute masterclass. This week I'd like to talk to you about all things pre-proceedings. I mentioned briefly in one of the earlier masterclasses about care proceedings and how they begin following Section 47 inquiries, and usually that follows interventions that happen or disclosures that are made at a much earlier stage, such as escalated concerns from a health visitor or from an early years setting or school. And the pre-proceedings element of what a local authority does is actually a really crucial part of the court process. The pre-proceedings stage starts when the issue is escalated. So as a health visitor, as a nursery worker or teacher, if you have escalated a concern and an investigation has been carried out and a local authority takes the view that further intervention is necessary, at that point, pre-proceedings has essentially started, because pre-proceedings is basically everything from the point of issuing care proceedings backwards. And the purpose of pre-proceedings is to work with families, to evidence gather, and to look at extended family members and long-term plan for children at the earliest stage possible, to hopefully allow children to remain with families, which is the ultimate aim of all social work involvement. Or, if a case has to be escalated to court proceedings, that once the decision has been made that court proceedings are necessary, all the evidence has been gathered. As part of the pre-proceedings process, there are a number of agencies going to be involved with a family, and all of these agencies have to work together, and each of these agencies may be asked to provide information about the child, children, parent or carer. And that could be something as simple as a report, such as a report from a childminder, maybe a report from a worker who is doing one-to-one work with a parent, or work in terms of courses that a parent is attending or a carer is attending. And all that information must be supplied to the social worker in a timely manner to allow them to complete their assessments. Because at the same time that parents are undertaking this work and that children are involved perhaps on a child in need basis or on a child protection plan, a social worker has to continually carry out assessments in order to plan for that child or children's future. And examples of some of the assessments that may be done could be around parenting assessments, either of one parent or the other, perhaps together, or if they've separated individually. It could be in relation to assessments of extended family members who may be able to offer care as an alternative if the child cannot remain with parents or with the current carers. It may be that there are drug test results that have to be obtained. There may be GP reports that are needed. And as part of this whole process, the information that you are gathering, and you are always gathering information whether you realise it or not, your day-to-day involvement with these families is part of an information gathering process because you'll know these families. When information comes together, such as at core groups or at child protection child protection meetings, this information needs to be shared so that appropriate steps can be taken and appropriate support can be put in place. Because the ultimate aim, as I've said with pre-proceedings, is to gather as much evidence as possible in order to ensure that if the matter has to be escalated further, then there is evidence to support either of those actions. If a case has reached a point where there is sufficient evidence that says parents have worked really well or the carers have worked really well, there is good evidence from supporting agencies that says the child is safe, the child is secure, that all their needs are being met, then it may well be that at that stage the whole child protection process is de-escalated. However, the alternative is that if processes have demonstrated that parents haven't worked, they've maybe not engaged in drug test results, children are still being late for school, or there are still concerns about their presentation, or issues that were around are still arising, that they've maybe not taken part in parenting assessments, or those assessments have been negative, then the local authority has the evidence to escalate the case in a fairly quick manner to care proceedings, and it makes the whole process an awful lot shorter for the child involved, and there are not long drawn out court proceedings around the issue. So the takeaways I'd like you to have from this is, if you're asked for information at an early stage, or you're asked to be involved in an early stage, think that this is all about trying to keep that child within that family, and that the purpose of the pre-proceedings is to consider at the earliest possible opportunity whether or not the child or children can remain at home with their parents. Until next week, thank you very much.